All right. So is that a good ending?
I think so, because I'm choking up.
I'm joking.
Happy Halloween.
From movies and video games, welcome to Marie Plays It All. Today's episode is Side Quest with my friend Kevin Ketchie.
Good to be back. Good to see you.
Excited. It's going to be a good
Yeah.
time, or maybe it's going to be a bad time because we don't know. We're not letting people know how we feel yet about this. But
Yeah.
Kevin brought to my attention the fact that Halloween H20 is having their 25th anniversary this Saturday, right? Saturday.
Yep. August 5th is Saturday, which is crazy. 25 years.
We have extremely strong feelings about this movie. Lots of people do. I find it's kind of a divisive Halloween installment, I think.
It is. Yeah, I think this one, maybe more than any of the other entries, I think is the most polarizing for some reason. And really the people that hate this movie, you kind of hear the same things like, I hate it because of this reason and this reason and that reason. And to me, those reasons have never bothered me because of like the underlying message of this movie, which we'll get into. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one to talk about.
So, what do you think, Kevin? Is Halloween H2O to you a smash or was it trash?
I think I'm getting my nipples pierced. I'm smashing this movie.
Good quote.
Yeah, I
Awesome
had to throw that
quote.
one in there. Yeah, I'm getting my nipples pierced. I'm smashing this movie so hard. I love this movie.
I think I smashed this movie about 4 times a month. I smashed it last night. I
Yeah,
I I I smashed this movie so hard.
yeah.
And it's probably, I'm not saying it's the best Halloween movie because I think 78 is still like the best one. I love Halloween 2 as well, but
Mhm.
this is probably my favorite Halloween movie of all of
For me, it's obviously 78,
them. Mhm.
H2O, and then Rob Zombie's H2. I just love all three of those for different reasons, but I think they all have a certain style and aesthetic and flavor, and I just love them for so many reasons. But H2O, like that, that one more than the other two, like really kind of alternates the most between first place, second place. So sometimes it's first, but it's never not second. Definitely my second favorite in the franchise.
When you hear about people not liking Halloween H2O,
Yeah.
what do they normally say about it? What do you normally hear?
The Mask, about
Mhm.
how there's so many versions of the mask, and like I'm sure everyone knows, but if you don't know, they started the movie originally with the mask from Halloween 6. And I don't know what went wrong there, but they started shooting that. You can kind of see glimpses of it in the opening with Nurse Marion.
Mhm.
And then that got changed for the K and B mask, which is like the weird alien blank looking one that's kind of like a hockey mask looking one. It's the worst looking one. It looks like plastic. And they shot almost the entire movie with that mask. And I'm so pissed that that's the mask that they used for the cover art for the 4K release. Who I don't know who was in charge of that, but that's a big L. But and then when they went to go look through the dailies, and I think in post production they were like, "This mask is terrible," and so they went back to the drawing board and they went to, I think, Stan Winston Studios, who did the mask that you see primarily in the movie. And so they went and reshot like everything basically with Michael. So that's the main complaint, is how there's a bunch of different masks. That you have that moment with the CGI mask, which is goofy, but it's never bothered me. I've never had a problem with it. The mask is too goofy looking. The eye holes are too big. You see Michael's eyes. You're not supposed to see his eyes. And then there another common complaint is it doesn't feel like Halloween. It's in California. It's got that soapy 90s Dawson's Creek vibe going on. It's too tungsteny, it's too warm, but I don't know.
Mm.
There's something that's like really cozy and spicy and warm, like autumn feeling about the aesthetic of
Yes.
Halloween H2O to me. I think a big reason why it feels like Halloween is because of the score. I think that really just elevates the whole atmosphere of that movie. And Dean Cunny's cinematography, like his composition and the blue lighting, but there's really nothing in the first one that screams Halloween. Like there's palm trees everywhere, there's a lot of green.
Hmm.
And so I would stick up for H2O because for that argument. What's another complaint that I hear about H2O?
I hear
Really,
complaints
those are the
about the
two big
music.
ones.
Like it's whimsical and
The big,
stuff, and it's
the big orchestral sweeping score people hate, and
yes.
I love it. I think it's really just like a finale. Like it's a big sweeping finale
Yes.
score, and it just brings everything to this crescendo. And so I think it fits the narrative. I love it.
Addressing the score. We've talked about Halloween H2O on different podcasts. So we're gonna be repeating ourselves to each other, which we don't care
Yeah.
because we love it. But there's a part in the movie. Okay, so Janet Leigh obviously is in this movie. She plays the what is she in that movie again? I always forget.
Oh, fun fact. Lee appears in Halloween H2O 20 years later, again with her daughter Jamie Lee Curtis, making a brief appearance as Norma Watson. The role of Norma was originally going to go to PJ Souls. Did you know that?
No.
I didn't know that either. I would have been cool with either with PJ too, but I'm glad it was Jamie's mom. That's cool.
Yeah. So Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, and is also in stars in the movie Psycho. And I love this movie because there's so many Psycho references in it.
Yeah.
So Charlie says to John, you're gonna end up running a motel with your mom somewheres at some point. So there's like a
Yeah.
Psycho reference. There's the exact car that Janet Leigh drives in Psycho is in this movie. And then there's that one point after she bumps into her and she gets freaked out. First of all, Janet Leigh says it's Halloween, everyone's entitled to one good scare. So I'm like, yeah, just give
Mhm.
it a call back. I love it. But as she turns around and walks away to her car, there's a little snippet of the Psycho score that they throw in there.
Oh, Miss Tate, happy Halloween.
And that is such a like an orchestral
Orchestral.
thank you, orchestral score. And I feel like I can forgive, even if it doesn't bother me that much, but if people want to forgive it, like how whimsical the score is just for that one part. Cause I'm like, that to me stands out so much. And they need that score to
Yeah.
sound like that just for that one part. And that's like one of my most favorite parts of the movie because I just thought it was so brilliant to throw that little tidbit of Psycho in there, that little callback.
Damn,
So
that is really like the callbacks nods are really tasteful in this movie. I
yeah.
had no idea about the Psycho little score. That's badass.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite parts about it. And that's why the score doesn't bother me. I remember like, oh, here, this opening when the thunder.
Oh
Oh,
man. If I could just reach out and grab the essence, the atmosphere of that opening and inject into my veins, I would. That opening feels so much like Halloween to me. Starting off with the knife swing, and then Enter Sandman starts playing. She's carving pumpkins, and then like the camera just pans down the street with kids riding their bikes, trick or treating, and then here comes Nurse Marion pulling up to her house, and we just follow her to her house, and it stops perfectly when she steps on that glass, and you get that mood and atmosphere that's so dark and gloomy, and Michael is lurking, and like I just love the autumn ambiance. It's kind of damp, everything's kind of warm looking. I eat that shit up. I love that opening.
I also love it. And the timing of her stepping on the glass. But you know what's really funny? I'm going to call you out right now. Instead of saying Mr. Sandman, you said Enter Sandman. Could you
Did
imagine
I
if it was
say? No,
Metallica?
no, it's probably that would be funny. It's probably just my accent. I've been talking way more country lately. I don't know what's happening, but hopefully I didn't say Enter Sandman. And then Enter Sandman starts playing. Damn.
Even if you did, it's funny if you. We know you
Well,
know.
I'll
We
have
know
to
you know the name.
I'll have to edit a clip of her like stepping out of her car with Enter Sandman playing.
But yeah, that opening is perfection. And this is how you get a legacy character into a sequel and do it right. You gave her purpose at the beginning. She felt like the same character as in the first two, and then
Yeah.
she's gone. and she's the first kill of the movie, and I'm just because I think about like when David Gordon Green's trilogy, I just feel like he just brought them back, and they were pointless, they were dull. It's like he just bringing them in just for like, oh look, I got these characters
Yeah.
back, come watch the movie. But this movie was done right, loved it. And I also have some thoughts about why they show Michael's eyes in this movie, which we will get to.
And I agree with.
I also feel like the mask is goofy, and to me, it's not so much the eye holes, but the hair. The
Mhm.
hair to me is goofy too.
That's a little feral. Yeah, it sticks up. It's kind of fro like. If froze were like straight, it's got a weird thing going on with it. But I've honest to God, I've never hated this mask. I don't know if it's just nostalgia. I've always thought it's separate. Like each mask in each Halloween movie, they're all different. Even the same mask that's in '81, it looks different because of Dick Warlock's like head shape. But I love that each mask is different and they all have like their own personality. And I've just always thought this mask looks cool. And so this one never bothers me. Even with this big eyes, there's a couple of shots where Michael's eyes are like way too big, like when he gets kicked in the balls. Um, but I don't know. I really like we'll get into why we enjoy the eye holes being so big. They don't like Chris Durant's performance as Michael. They don't think he feels like Michael. They think I've heard a couple people say the way he walks isn't right, the way he stands is too wide, it's not right. The way he turns his head is not right. The only issue I have with this performance is the part where he gets hit by Laurie. She runs him over in the van, and then he sits up kind of like drunk, and he
And
just
he
kind of like
kind of like
slouches over, and he's kind of like he looks over. That's the only time I'm like that could have been done better. But everything else I think is great.
another thing people don't like is how the kills are more tame and there isn't that much gore. But I think about Halloween, the first one, 78, and how
Yeah.
they didn't want any blood in that movie. They didn't want
Mhm.
any blood, and the kills are pretty tame in that one too. So to me, it's like actually more on par with John Carpenter's actual vision of Michael and Halloween, and how it's not a gory freaking Friday the 13th movie, or it's not like a Halloween Kills where it's just gratuitous, because that's not Michael
Yeah.
Myers, man. This is
I
more
agree
like
with
what
that.
Michael Myers was intended to be.
I agree. Like, and really, like if you put them side by side, the killings kind of happen. Almost the same amount of killings happen in '78 and in H2O. Like Michael in both films, he's just kind of lurking, being weird, stalking, waiting for his moment, and then he attacks, and like it all just like comes to a head, and that happens at the end. And I think there's a perfect balance of gore and suspense and kind of dialing back on the kills and the gore. I think the shot we get with Sarah, fuck man, that whole kill where she finds Charlie in the dumbwaiter and Michael slices her leg, and then she tries to get out of the dumbwaiter. She's stuck because of Charlie. Her leg gets snapped in half, pulls it out of the dumbwaiter, falls on the floor. It's all mangled to pieces. Michael comes up there, steps on her face, stabs her like over and over, and then he hangs her like a Christmas light up in the pantry, and she's just hanging there looking like the Blair Witch. And it's one of the coolest deaths in the entire franchise. And to me, that one death trumps that argument of like there's not enough this and that in this movie. I just think it's brilliantly shot and acted and directed. I love that kill.
I know. Yeah, I think that's absolutely. And then I also like the kill of Laurie's boyfriend. Literally forget everyone's name right now.
Will, his name's Will.
But okay. I also like the replicated Halloween 2 kill pretty much in the
Yeah.
back and holding him up by the knife like they did with the scalpel with the nurse. I was like, that's cool, man. Like all the callbacks in this movie are like maybe fan servicey, but I'm here for it. I am so here for all of it.
Mm-hmm. Because it shows that they care, and it's not just like going back to like fan service stuff. Going back to Nurse Marion real quick, like what David Gordon Green did with bringing back all the legacy characters was so wasted, and all they were used for was just exposition and fan service. They served no purpose to that story because there really was no story at all. And so I love Nurse Marion's role in this because she's like being reintroduced to the Halloween story again. It feels like this warm embrace because we know this character and it just feels natural. Everything about the progression of these legacy characters in this movie just feels natural. And I love that. Of course, Michael would be stalking her because she has all these files on Laurie and Loomis locked away. And so I just love that we start with her. There's a reason why we start with her, and it just makes sense for the story. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I love it.
You can tell that who directed it again.
Steve
Put in
Miner.
everything. Steve Martin. You can tell that he's actually a fan of Halloween
Right.
and like all the callbacks in it, because there's also Molly in the class looking out the window, just like
Yeah.
Laurie did in the first one. There's also, I love so much tying in Halloween 6 with Laurie closing her eyes and having like the visions of Michael and then
Mm,
closing her eyes and then going away like the little kid did in Halloween 6. I
yeah.
was like, he took a bunch of Halloween lore and threw it in here, which I thought was
It's
pretty
all
cool.
in there. It's all ingrained into this movie. Even the scene with Molly and Laurie in the classroom, what they're talking about, the theme of that topic is about fate. And that goes right back to the classroom scene in 78. Like that shit is awesome. That is so tastefully done. That is great storytelling. And that's why this movie is just so layered, and it's like a love letter to 78 and to this story.
Let me ask you, what is it about the mask that you like and seeing the eyes? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, shall we?
With the big eye holes, this is like the first Halloween movie that you're really able to see Michael's eyes. You can kind of see him a little bit in 78, like some up close shots when he's,
Mm.
behind Laurie and kind of trudging after her. But this is the one where they're like spread eagle right out in front of you. These are Michael's eyes. And I just think there's some moments where between he and Laurie, you can just feel the the purpose, you can feel the drive, you can feel the intensity, you can feel the relationship. Like I could not imagine that scene where they come face to face after he gets through that gate and then boom, they're face to face, they interlock eyes. Hats off to Chris Duran, where he just kind of just turns his head and it's almost like he's like smiling, like I found you. Like I love that.
You see his eyes a little bit in Halloween 2 as well when he like jumps up like a cat and
You
stabs
do.
the girl in the back, and also when he's putting the needle in the nurse's thing. You see his eyes in there, so people can't complain too much because you do see his eyes in those. But
Yeah.
you're right. I didn't always, sorry. When I watched this movie again more as an adult, because I used to be on the anti-eye bandwagon. And then when I grew up a
Yeah.
little bit, I'm like, no, man, these eyes are it's like its own character and it creates more of attention. It's like I say, at the window, it would not have that same effect if it was just these black holes.
Yeah.
Like it just, there would be no like that connection between the two. Like, and just as like you say, you can tell he has this like, oh, like reaction.
It would. I mean,
And
it would
same
be
with
spooky. These black holes, these lifeless eyes. I'm about to start quoting Quint from Jaws. Black eyes like a doll's eye. Um, but I mean, it would be spooky if you didn't see his eyes. But I don't know. I think it's the perfect balance of supernatural and human, and
yes.
it just says so much with just that little moment where you can see his eyes. Like to me, it
Mhm.
does. To me, it just like whoa, there they are. They are face to face, and that is scary, and that's awesome, and it's cool.
Even when he's on the hood of the car and she's looking in his eyes and she's smiling at him, and then at the end when they're face
Yeah,
to face again, and then she's like, is she having a second thought about doing it, and then he's looking at her kind of like, oh, trying to give sympathy. It's like you kind of need to see that emotion a little bit in this one, because this is a way more emotional Halloween. This is the most emotional Halloween movie because it's all about them
yeah,
and their face off. That's what it's about. More, and then, and especially since they know, well, she knows now that that's my brother. This is like the first one where you get to see her knowingly be like, oh damn, he's my brother and he's gonna be coming back. I just know it. And that's
yep.
another thing people don't like about this is a lot of people hate the brother sister aspect, and I
Hmm.
love it.
I do
Come
too.
at me.
I do too. Yeah, I mean, I can understand people's argument about it. It's way cooler if it's ambiguous and he is just this mindless killer that kills at random. I'm on board with that for 78. But the further we go along with these characters, the more we learn about their relationship. I think the brother and sister storyline just elevates it and gives it more like weight to it. And you care more, you're more invested, you care more about Laurie. You're rooting for her. Is she going to make it? Is she not? And then so I've been on board with you. I've always loved the brother and sister storyline.
Yeah, it just I like when there's a little bit of a passion and reason, because I just
Yeah.
feel like it gives it more weight. And I mean, if you want to see random killings in movies, I was gonna say like, oh, go watch Friday the 13th or something like that. But then
Yeah.
Jason's also killing for a purpose too, and his mom in the first one was killing for a purpose. Like I like it when there's a form of drive, because then it's just like, oh, we're just watching a movie and we're watching it strictly for the kills. And I like to
Yeah.
have a little bit of a story, like a little bit
Hmm.
of story. I want to be invested in the characters. And then I like to have a person to root for
Yeah.
personally. And I feel like I'm rooting for Laurie. I want her to succeed. And if we didn't have that aspect, then it's just like, oh, then who cares? Just like when in
Yeah.
the new Halloween trilogy, when it's like, oh, he doesn't care about you. I'm like, why are we watching these movies then?
There's like so pointless and they're like monotonous and they're boring. Like if there's no motive, if there's no relationship, if there's nothing there, if like that line in Kills where Hawkins is like, no, it's not about you, and Laurie's just like, what? It's so that's such bad writing. And like to your point, so well said. It's just so much more engaging and relatable and interesting whenever there is purpose, like whether it's primal or just something like human or whatever, like something that's driving this killer. What is it? And it's just better storytelling to me.
I think for like a one-off movie,
Yeah.
that's fine. If it's just like just this person likes to kill and they're just like killing these people, like that's totally fine. But to have like a whole franchise, it's like I think there should be a little bit of depth and purpose to it. Otherwise, it's just the same movie over and over
Yeah.
and over again without a story. What's keeping me invested into this whole storyline for a franchise that has X amount of movies? So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
appreciate the
Like
brother sister.
gore and kills and all that is cool, but that can only take you so far until you're just kind of like, okay, that's cool. That's it.
Yeah. Another thing, okay, this is one thing that I do kind of agree with a little bit of people's complaints
Hmm.
is why isn't Michael all burnt up and stuff in this
Yeah.
one? If it's a direct continuation from Halloween 2, why is his hands all good? Why are his eyes perfectly fine? I mean, they kind of have to be because you can't like shoot out people's eyes. And yeah, I understand, but I wish he was a little bit beaten up a little bit, maybe
Yeah.
just to like have that continuation. That's one thing that I'm like, yeah, I see that point.
Yeah. That's a valid complaint. I mean, he should be a little bit banged up. He should have some scars and some burns on his hands. And even like if they gave him what they did with James Jude Courtney with the pale blind eye, something like that. Um
Mhm.
just to see he's mangled up under there would have been enough. But it still doesn't like take me out of this movie like wishing he had all these things. It just it doesn't bother me, but I do wish they kind of did a little bit more than what they did.
I want to get into our favorite parts of this movie.
Oh
So
god.
let's start with scenes first, and then when we'll finish off with
Mm,
the big
okay.
reasons why this is so good and why everyone should appreciate it more.
Okay.
So, favorite scenes.
Oh my god. The whole movie. Favorite scenes. I mean, I love the opening. I love that it starts off with Mr. Sandman. I love that
Yeah.
song. That puts me right in the Halloween mood. The opening is perfect. I think it's my favorite opening in the series. I'm
Mhm.
trying to think of all the other ones. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Hey, that's my favorite opening. I love Charlie's kill. I love the suspense with the garbage disposal. I think that's really well shot. I love all the scenes with Ronnie. I think LL Cool J is just like a nice little addition to this movie.
So
He just has
good.
so much charisma and charm, and I love his girlfriend or his wife. I love their
Yeah.
dialogue. I love their dynamic about because he's what an aspiring writer, and he's always like
Yeah.
running his ideas by her, and she's like, "Ooh yeah," and these large melon breast melon. I just love their banter. I think it's a nice touch, and I just love everything at the Paramore Estate. I love the way that place looks and feels. I love the way it's shot. The rest stop scene. I love that scene.
Yes.
Oh my god, what a scary scene! Mother and daughter just pulling up, and the bathroom's locked, and you see Michael's car is just there, and he's somewhere. I just love the way that whole scene is shot. It's dark, it's spooky. But I love the shot of her looking through the crack in the stall door, and he just turns around and gives her that look, and like it's such a like badass look of like I could kill you right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna just take your car and let you go. But I could if I wanted to. I just love that shot, and I love the look of it. So that I'll go to that one for now.
That is such a prime example of like less is more. Okay. Because if
Mhm.
that was done in like Halloween Kills, he would have killed most people. And remember watching that for the very first time and just being on the edge of my seat and being so scared and so tense and being like, oh my God, please no, please don't kill this kid. But Michael doesn't kill kids normally.
Mhm.
Like this doesn't happen. And I thought it was out of character that he did in the new trilogy anyway. But
I did
um,
too.
yeah, I didn't
A lot of people
because
loved it. They were like, "Oh, I like him." Like, but he doesn't do that. That was the
no,
first
it's not
person he
his
killed was a kid. Whatever.
not
That
his
was.
shtick. You're not
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger. Get out of here. Go watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Get out of here.
God.
But the fact that he doesn't harm them, I love that. But just because he could, exactly, he could. Also, obviously the window scene. The window scene is just
Oh
so
man, that window scene. That whole
so good.
scene, the whole chase scene, the whole gate. The gate scene's fucking incredible. Like the acting
Hmm.
between Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams. Like, God,
Yeah.
man, just so good.
So those are some of our favorite scenes. You forgot one of yours, which was Josh Hartnett. Josh.
Oh, and you, yeah, okay. That's another like minor complaint I have with this movie is whenever it's the scene with him and Michelle Williams where he has like this little tucked away, hidden Halloween romantic candlelit cafeteria food dinner surprise for her. And it's just the dialogue, it's the way he says it. Oh, I can't remember what he says, but his switch flips and he starts walking close and he's like, and you are a prime example of getting my full attention or something like that. She's like, I'm flattered. It's so awkward. I hate that scene. It makes me clench up.
As a female who loves romance, thought it was sweet.
Sure.
And the dialogue is he wants to start
Oh,
focusing on what's right about Halloween. He's like, and
oh,
you are a prime
oh my
example
God.
of what's right.
It's just the way he does it. It's so corny. I mean, if he said that to you, would you be like, oh yeah? Or would you be like, yeah,
I don't want to say
you
now.
would, yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
moving on from favorite scenes. We have discussed this before, and I want to discuss it again. I want to smash this discussion and talk about why this is our favorite and the best interpretation of Laurie Strode that there is.
What I love about Halloween H20 is that it's simple. It's not overly complicated. It's not convoluted. It may not have like that perfect Halloween, classic Halloween aesthetic or the best mask, but what it gets right is the progression of Laurie Strode's character. Laurie Strode is a bookworm, and I love and believe she would be working in some sort of role at a school. I believe her suppressed trauma that takes the shape of alcoholism and like the constant hovering over her son. Mostly, I believe in this Laurie Strode's fight. You know, struggling her entire life, her victories partial, like still fighting after all of it, refusing to give in, choosing to raise a child, choosing to try again, persisting in spite of all of like the saturine advice she receives to, just let it go. He's not coming back. Just take each day by day. That never comes anywhere close like what she's actually going through. And then she grabs that fucking axe and she turns to face what's been chasing after her entire life. And I'll go more into that, but like this version of Laurie Strode, this progression of Laurie Strode is so natural and it's so moving, it's so poetic, and it's so perfect.
Like you say, she's a bookworm at heart, but she has strength and she's gotten stronger
Yeah.
as time has progressed. And even though but it's clear that she suffers from some sort of mental trauma, PTSD, whatever. She has coping mechanism with alcoholism. She
Right.
clearly has been to some form of therapy because of she's using the techniques of like she knows she's seeing things and she's has techniques to get rid of it. And she changed her name. She's trying to move on. She's strong, but you can tell that
Mhm.
she has that trauma.
You can just tell that she's always struggling. Like it's always festering, but she's
Mhm.
always standing her ground and she's always showing up and like trying. And that just like I can just feel that when I watch this movie. And so I just wanted to add that really quick. I just always feel her struggle and it feels natural. It's not like she's got mannequins surrounding her house and she's shooting all of them every day and she's got a Terminator trap for a house. It's just very natural and organic.
Yes, that is probably my main complaint. Well, one of my main complaints. When we top three complaints, the new Halloween trilogy is what they did to Laurie. It's like they did her dirty, man. She's a wreck. She's a horrible mother. She's a horrible grandmother. That's what they're painting her out to
Yeah.
be.
She's
She's like
obnoxious.
she's obnoxious. She's like broken, so broken. She's so broken after just that one night, that one first Halloween night. Not even Halloween 2 is taken into consideration, and also
Yeah.
Michael isn't even her brother in this one, in the new ones, and she still is so convinced he's gonna come back for her. At least this one makes
Mm.
more sense. She's like, well, he's my brother. He's not gonna stop until all his family's dead, until I'm dead, until we're all dead. And this is Laurie Strode, man. And this is some of Jamie Lee Curtis's like best acting, I think.
I think it's her best
Honestly, she's a
role. I think it's
yeah.
her best role. Yeah, there's a reason for her to kind of like be looking over her shoulder constantly
Mhm.
in this movie, as opposed to Halloween 2018 and Kills. Like you said, like she's so hyperbolic and obnoxious and clingy and unlikable in that. I could not believe that's the direction they took. Arguably the best final girl of all time, the Scream Queen. That's the direction you go for Laurie Strode, is you make her this like hermit, this redneck doomsday prepper hermit that's like so uncharacteristic and unlikable. It was just so weird. Man, what a awful trilogy.
Yeah. And then in Halloween Ends, when all of a sudden she's like trying to be Susie
Oh
Homemaker, and
my
she's like, oh,
god.
just show the world your tits or something like that. I'm like, this is not Laurie Strode at
Bacon
all. This is not how
pumpkin
she
pies,
talks.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. Like it was just like this is something maybe Linda would say in the original Halloween movie, not Laurie Strode. Like she didn't feel anything like that. This movie captures her perfectly and it has a
absolutely.
progression for her and also the trauma. It's perfect.
It's so
And she's
perfect.
strong. She's so strong in
She
this
is.
movie.
My favorite scene in the entire franchise is when she's confronted with Michael again and she's on her way out to run, and instead she tells her son and his girlfriend to go. And it gets me emotional just talking about it. Like that moment where she says enough and she kicks in that glass and she grabs the axe and she walks back up that road and she screams for this person. And in this, for me in this instance, Michael is the embodiment of like all of our chronic fears and illnesses, like the relentless irrational thoughts, like the demons that haunt us every day of our lives, and the exhausting like urge to let it win. And just like that moment, she screams Michael and she goes up there and she faces him. It's just like so powerful. It's like my favorite emotional crescendo probably in all of cinema. Like it just means so much to me, and that's why Halloween H20 is like so special, why I adore it, and why it's so much more underneath its slasher surface is because of that message.
Oh man, starting to cry while you're talking about it.
It's
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
just it's powerful. It's
I am.
it's really moving and it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. I crank it up and it just makes me feel a lot of stuff.
Yeah, me too. Can we just start bawling our eyes out? Oh, you don't even know, man.
Oh man.
Um, well, the thing about that, even the way it's shot is so good. The above view, the
Mhm.
shadows, and just the echo. Like
God.
if it was
The
a face
score,
on it,
And
Oh, the
oh
score.
God.
If it was her screaming Michael in the face, it wouldn't have had that much impact. But the way it's just like an outside view of her and the echo and how loud she's screaming, it's like how desperate she is to just get this over with. And she's not hiding in a closet. She's like, "Come at me, bro!" Literally,
Mhm.
she's like, "I'm here for you. You come at me. This is over. This is it." And like, I'm strong enough to do it, and I'm doing it today. Like she's determined.
Like I'm either going to kill this person, I'm gonna die trying. I'm either way, I've come to terms with that and I'm going for it. And that's just so heroic. And that's what like movies are about. It stirs the emotions, it moves us forward in life. And like love this movie because of that reason. I
Damn.
don't know how anybody could hate this movie.
Well, okay, now you guys, do you still hate it? Like, if you're like, no,
Yeah.
you guys are wrong. It's like, dudes, okay, you know what? To each their own.
Yeah. I mean, for all of its flaws and blemishes, and there you can see them scattered throughout this movie, but every Halloween movie has that. But to me, you can just overlook those so easily because of the underlying message in this movie and
Yeah,
how strong the narrative is, how much of a love letter it is to the franchise, how much of a satisfying conclusion it is to the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers character, and how it wraps up so perfectly. This is my definitive ending. This is where the story ends. You can't do it better than this. Nothing will ever do it better than this. And it's just a perfect movie.
you know what, Kevin? I don't think I ever. I think I always felt it. I don't think I ever looked at it so poetically, like you just explained, and how it's totally metaphorically about like pushing your fears and insecurities and all your issues and whatever aside, like trying to ignore them. Oh, it doesn't exist. We don't do Halloween. Like, pushing them aside, then coming literally face to face with it, then having the chance to run away from it, then choosing to confront it. And then you get beat up along the way. And then you have that choice to confront it again. And you almost like, oh, but you know what? Sometimes being in your insecurities and being with all the flaws and everything that you don't like about yourself is so comforting. So it's like, oh, do I want to let
Yeah.
go of this? Or am I gonna like take a hold of my own power and just like defeat it once and for all? And then she does at the end. And she has that breathing at the end, and it's like mimicking Michael's
Oh
breathing in the
man.
first one. Like it's like Michael's breathing in the
Oh
mask, and no,
yeah.
it's her breath now. It's
It's
her breathing,
her.
and she has the power.
She conquered it. She has the power. She faced her fear and she won. And it's so natural and it's so badass. And I even love like after she goes up to face him and she kicks his ass, he falls off the banister, and LL Cool J is like, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And she's like wanting to finish him, but she lets it go. And instead of like letting the paramedics and the cops take him away and, you know, try to like live with, I think I killed him, she fucking jacks the van and she fucking
Mhm.
drives off with the van and she flings him off a cliff and cuts his head off. Like, oh man, what an exclamation point to a badass character into a badass movie.
How often do you see in movies where it's like,
Mm.
oh, like what she does in the first one, where she puts the needle in his neck and then just walks away? And it's like, no, 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 no. She knows now this guy's going to get back
Yeah.
up. I need to be sure he is dead. And that's why
Oh
she
man.
steals the thing. She was going to stab him. And then even when he flies off the van, she's like, get up, get up. And then she gets him again because she knows this guy's not going to stop unless they
Yeah.
cut this dude's head off.
Yep.
And she does it, man.
Mm.
You know what? This is where Halloween should have ended. This is our Halloween ends. Halloween ends at H2O
God
for us.
damn.
That's it.
It
That is
does.
it.
No, I mean that's really where the story ends. And like Hollywood's always going to milk these properties that have such a beloved following that make so much money that are cash cows. And so I hate that about Hollywood is how they just drain it to death until like the franchise is just so soured and ruined and no one likes it anymore. So we'll still get more versions of Michael Myers and Halloween, but like this is where that story ends. Always
Mhm.
will, always has been. It's perfect. I'm just thinking about where she even like steals the cop's gun and she's like, load him in. Oh fuck man. It's just great.
Laurie Strode and Halloween H2O, my favorite final girl. Absolutely. My final
Yeah.
woman. That's it. That's her.
Yeah, Sydney Prescott's my favorite final girl, but if there was no more Laurie Strode, no Blumhouse trilogy like this version of Laurie Strode is just like Queen.
Kevin, you blew my mind with that.
What part got you?
Just how it's like kind of like a metaphor for like people confronting their own like demons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And how I don't know, I always just looked at it very face value and I was like, God damn it. And then I started
Well,
thinking about every other scene in the movie, and I was like, oh my God, this whole movie is about this. I
well, I
never
think
really
at
see
face
it.
value, it really is just about Laurie Strode like saying enough, like going after this
Mhm.
killer that's going after her. But like I think that's the beautiful thing about art is that whenever there's not a message that's just shoved in your face, you can analyze it and you can dissect it and interpret things and tell people what this piece of art meant to you. And I think that's the beautiful thing about movies that are from like the 2010s back is like there was nothing that was just so in your face. They just had character driven stories. And so that's just what I've always gotten out of it, especially like whenever you go through personal things in life, you just start having to face them. And I just picked up on that theme in this movie, and it's just powerful. um Always has been, always will be. It's just
Oh,
so realistic feeling, like everything in this movie, like everything that people are like trying to downplay, and like they're just trying to get her to like move on, and you can't. Like this thing is always whatever it is that's festering, that's given you so much hurt, is always going to like be walking towards you. Everyone's going to have something that's always chasing after them.
mm.
And then you're right there, you have this fight or flight response, and you can either run or you can face it, and she faces it. Smash it so hard.
Smash, smash, smash,
I
over and over forever.
need a cigarette.
Okay.
Oh
I
man.
know. I'm like, I got chills so many. We've talked about this movie so
I teared
much.
up. I
Like,
teared up talking about that movie, or that
you
moment with
know,
Laurie. I always do. I get choked up every time.
for the amount of times we talked about it, I'm gonna start crying again, man. Like, we should have done this when I was PMSing. Hey, for the amount of times talked about
Yeah,
this movie,
same,
yes, yeah,
same. Damn it.
seven time too. We're
The
synced.
fucking, it's the fucking the space shit. Retrograde. That's my problem. I'm not usually like
Shit.
this. It's retrograde.
For the amount of times we talked about this movie, I have never heard you talk about it like that, and about how, like the metaphorically, poetically speaking aspect of like this message of this movie, and that got me. And I'm even talking about it right now. I'm going to still start crying because that was so
Don't. You're
beautiful.
gonna make me cry.
Thank you, Kevin, for that. And I'll never look at this movie the same ever again. And I thought I loved it then, and I love it so much more now. And thank you.
It's just a part of me. It's got my heart. It's fucking
Okay,
90s Michael Myers movie.
so it's
Jesus.
so deep. It's so deep. So many layers.
Yeah.
Woo! On that highly emotional note,
Yeah.
thank you for watching this episode of Side Quest.
And you.
You with my friend Kevin Ketchie, who just blew my mind today. You can watch more of our content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can follow us on Twitter and Threads, I think, and Instagram at Not a Strong Start. You can like and subscribe and follow and share. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays It All. Kevin, where can we find you?
People can find me on Instagram at Watch Horror Films. You can also find me on YouTube at Kevin Ketchie. That's where all my filming locations are. And I also have a podcast I do from time to time with my buddy Bert called At Night of the Comments that you can find on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. And I just want to say thank you again for having me on. Thank you for Not a Strong Start for having me on. And this was a really fun one to talk about. Just, if you can't tell, we both really, really cherish this movie. And it's a big part of who we are. And I just look forward to it this time of year, every year.
Me too. And thank you for coming on, Kevin. And everyone, please check out his Instagram and YouTube page because his filming location videos are stunning and gorgeous. And he does one here at the where is it? What's it called again? His
Paramore
actual place.
Estate. I actually got to go here. So I got very lucky and got to spend about an hour here and soaked up as much as I could and paid tribute to it as best as I could. So if you love this movie, if you're just interested in what this place looks like right now, go to my YouTube page and check it out. I'd appreciate it.
Never stop playing and never stop watching Halloween H20. Watch it a billion times a year because every time I watch this movie, I discover something new and that I appreciate more, and never stop talking about it because obviously you bring something new every time. And I seriously, my view on this movie's completely changed for the better, and I thought I couldn't get any better. And thank you so much, Kevin.
That's the beautiful thing about movies and art, man. That's why we should still have people having good conversations about them and people still writing movies and making movies. And so I'm glad I was able to just express that. So thank you.
Thank you. Goddamn planets. Mercury.
Fucking full moons and shit. And you